Everyone, welcome to Barca News. It is June 7th, 2026, and today we're going to be talking about some concerning news because the money for the Espai Barca project has dried up. Also, Mourinho requesting a signing of Bernardo Silva, and finally, we're going to talk about the 5 European talents that Barcelona are currently keeping track of. We have a lot to discuss, so let's begin. Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Boone. I'm finally made it to Argentina. I'm currently away from home. I'm going to be here for the next 2 weeks. This is why I'm not in my YouTube studio. If you're wondering why my background looks different, well, that's because I am away from home. But as always, when I travel, I do take my camera and computer with me. So don't worry, I'm still going to be doing daily videos so you can stay up to date on all the news regarding our beloved club, FC Barcelona. All right, let's begin with the news. And we're going to begin with some bad news because, ladies and gentlemen, Joan Laporta is set to request more money for the Espai Barca project because the money has ran out. Now, Barcelona have borrowed 1.45 billion euros for the Espai Barca project. The money has completely been spent. So now Joan Laporta is set to request more credit so he can borrow more money for the project in July. Now, if you're wondering why in July, because for those of you who've been watching the channel for quite some time, as you know, Joan Laporta did win re-election in March. However, under the club's rules, he will not be president again until July. For now, we have an interim president who is Rafa Yuste, who of course was Joan Laporta's vice president. So in July, when Joan Laporta becomes president, once again, he is set to hold an extraordinary general meeting during which he will select his new board, where I'm sure Rafa Yuste will go back to being his vice president. And during this meeting, it's expected that Joan Laporta will request from the club socios approval to borrow more money for the Espai project because, again, the 1.45 billion euros have round out. Now, we don't know how much Joan Laporta will be requesting or how much credit he will want approved from the socios. We'll find out more once that July meeting happens. But I think it definitely is concerning. Now, why is it concerning? Because the Espai project is not just a stadium. It's not just a Spotify Camp Nou. In fact, it's also the Palau Blaugrana, which has not even began, right? The Palau Blaugrana is the stadium where the basketball team plays, where the indoor football team plays, where the indoor hockey team plays, right? It's in the same campus as the Camp Nou. That stadium, they haven't even started working on it. And of course, there's still the surrounding area, which is the campus of the Camp Nou and the Palau Blaugrana. That's also not finished. And as far as the stadium itself, we're talking about only the first two rings are finished. They still have to finish the third ring and all the VIP boxes. They still have to install the roof. So the 1.45 billion was supposed to be for all of this. The Camp Nou, the Palau Blaugrana, the campus. Palau Blaugrana is not done. Camp is not done. The stadium only 2/3 of the way. So how much more money we will need? Again, we're going to have to find out, but they're saying something around 300 to 400 million euros, which of course is going to push us closer to the 2 billion euro mark, which again, pretty concerning. Now, the good news is, of course, the Camp Nou is expected to generate around 400 million euros a season once it's fully completed. But nonetheless, this is a lot of debt that Barcelona are taking on for this renovation. Of course, my question to you is, do you think this risk is worth it? Yes, no, maybe? Let me know down below in the comment section. Now, let's move on to the next bit of news because we do have to talk about Bernardo Silva's statements after a friendly match with Portugal where he was asked, hey, what's going on? Is it with the interest from Barcelona? And well, this is what the Portuguese player had to say. Barca, it's an option. But I haven't made a decision yet. The truth is I have many options, and I'm not going to talk about a specific club if I haven't made a decision and haven't signed with that club. I'm going to try to be on a team where I'm wanted, where I feel truly wanted. That's very important to me. So, of course, Bernardo Silva confirming Barcelona being an option, but not confirming anything else. even though some people might try to, make too much out of this, saying, oh, wait, look, he doesn't look like, the deal is done, because as you know, a lot of reports saying that Bernardo Silva has offered himself to Barcelona, that it pretty much is a done deal. Hansi Flick has already greenlit this operation. The only thing missing is that Flick wants an exit before Bernardo Silva arrives. Maybe Rooney Bardarji, maybe Marc Casado, we'll see. And for now, Bernardo Silva, even though he wanted to resolve his future before the beginning of the World Cup, him and his agent, Jorge Mendes, knowing that Barcelona are waiting for an exit before they welcome Bernardo Silva in, they've decided that, well, they're not going to finalize this agreement until after the World Cup. That way, Bernardo Silva's focused on the World Cup, and Barcelona have time to get that exit. So, of course, people looking at these statements saying, oh, look, it's all a lie. It's not a lie. Obviously, Bernardo Silva is just doing what any reasonable player would do. He's not just gonna come out and say, yeah, I'm gonna Barca, but we're gonna wait because then exit. He's just like, look, I'm focused on the World Cup. I have options. We'll see what happens. I'll let you guys know. I think the only sentence out of these statements that kind of concern me a little bit is the last bit where he says, I'm going to try to be on a team where I'm wanted, where I feel truly wanted. And why I say this a little bit concerns me because, of course, we know Atletico Madrid, Juan Bernardo Silva, they're offering him a lot more than Barca. And I don't mean money, but I mean as far as him being important, right? They're offering him to be a key piece of their project, a starter, kind of like the brain of the midfield, as opposed to Barcelona. He wouldn't be the most important piece of the midfield, right? We don't even know if he would be a starter. He would have to compete, of course. And there's a lot of players he has to compete with, right? Gavi, Pedri, Fermin, Dani Olmo, you name it, right? And as far as the right wing, where he also plays, of course, he has to compete with Lamine, and there's no way he's going to be benching Lamine, right? So that's the only part of the sentence that concerns me a little bit. But overall, I think this is just what a player does. Just to say, I have options, we'll see, we'll decide, blah, blah, blah. But I'm sure that he still will want to come to Barcelona. But new news, new update, aside from the statements, because it's reported that Jose Mourinho has requested the signing of Bernardo Silva. As you know, Jose Mourinho will become Real Madrid's next coach. He's already planning kind of like the signings for Real Madrid, and he is considering the signing of Bernardo Silva. Of course, not a surprise. On one hand, Bernardo Silva, world-class midfielder. Of course, Jose Mourinho is going to want him. But on the other hand, we all know the games that Jose Mourinho likes to play. So, of course, trying to go after a player that Barcelona pretty much are trying to bring, that's kind of like up his alley. But we'll see what happens. I don't think Bernardo Silva is going to want to go to Real Madrid. He's always dreamt of playing at Barcelona. That has been his career dream the entire time. I don't see him going to Real Madrid, but just know that Jose Mourinho is there, interested in Bernardo, alongside, of course, Atletico de Madrid. Now, speaking of interest, we do have to talk about five, not one, not two, not three, not four, about five European talents that Barcelona currently tracking in the market. As you know, Deco and Joao Amaral have been doing a wonderful job of scouting and signing young up-and-coming talent. And while that also includes tracking different players around the world to see how they develop and to see whether it's a possibility to bring them to the club. We're going to talk about five of those players that are currently on Joao Amaral and Deco's list. Is starting with Leonard Carl. If you don't know who Leonard Carl is, 18-year-old midfielder currently playing for Bayern Munich. He's known for his goal-scoring ability and pace. Barcelona were hoping to watch him at the World Cup, but unfortunately he did suffer a muscle tear, which will see him out of the World Cup. But nonetheless, just know that Barcelona keeping close eye on Leonard Carl, an incredibly exciting midfielder currently in the Bundesliga. The second player that Barcelona are currently monitoring and tracking is someone we've talked about a lot, is, of course, Keith Smith, 20-year-old Dutch midfielder known for his tactical intelligence, passing range, and ability to control the tempo of the matches. As you might recall, we talked about him in the channel where Ronald Koeman, who of course has coached both Pedri and Frankie, said that Keith Smith kind of is like a hybrid between Pedri and Frankie de Jong, which of course is a huge compliment to the young 20-year-old midfielder. As we know, also Keith Smith has offered himself to Barcelona on several occasions. So if Barcelona go after him, there's no doubt that he would say yes. The third player that Barcelona are watching is Rodrigo Mora, someone else we've talked about on the channel here, 19-year-old Portuguese playmaker currently at Porto. He's capable of making things happen between the lines through his technique, dribbling, and of course, chance creation. And the fourth one on Barcelona's list is now an Englishman whose name is Lewis Miley. Hold on. That one double skipped for me. Lewis Miley, 20 years old, currently playing at Newcastle, known for his physical maturity with the ability to play multiple roles in the midfield. His composure and reading of the game have been described as well beyond his years. And in fact, he's one of the most exciting young talents currently in England. And finally, the fifth player on Barcelona's list of players they're tracking is someone we have talked about on the channel as well, is Ibrahim Massa, 20-year-old attacker, currently playing for Bayer Leverkusen, known for his creativity, driving runs, vision, which make him one of the most watchable players currently in the Bundesliga. So pretty much 4 creative midfielders and 1 creative attacker make up this list of 5 young up-and-coming talents that Barcelona are currently tracking. And my question to you is, out of these 5 players, who would you like to see at Barcelona? 1, 2, 3, maybe all of them, maybe none of them. Let me know down below in the comment section. And finally, we'll end today's video with the news of one player who will not be coming to Barcelona, but Barcelona were tracking, and we also talked about him in the channel, who's no other than Marco Palestra, 21-year-old right back, who can actually use both legs. He plays at Atalanta. I think he was at loan with Cagliari this past season. His price has skyrocketed. He was 3 million euros last summer. He's skyrocketed now to 30 million euros, so pretty much tenfold. And well, the reason that Marco Palestra will not be coming to Barcelona, even though Barcelona had him on their list of possible reinforcements for the fullback positions, is because of what happened with Dumfries. See, Real Madrid signed Dumfries from Inter Milan, which means that now Inter Milan have a vacancy for that fullback position, and it looks like they're going all in for Marco Palestra. So it's likely that Marco Palestra will end up at Inter Milan because, as you know, right now, Barcelona's #1 priority is a center forward before they can even think about reinforcing the fullback. Also, Barcelona not looking to enter any bidding wars. So it's looking like 90% Inter Milan will end up signing Marco Palestra, which means Barcelona will not be able to. Anyways, that is all the news for this video. Let me know what you guys think about all this news I share with you. Barcelona running out of money for the Camp Nou. Mourinho wanting Bernardo Silva, the 5 European talents that Barcelona tracking, and of course, Marco Palestra now looking like he's headed to Inter Milan in the place of Dumfries. Don't forget to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, drop a comment, and as always, Visca Barça.